Welcome in. It's the Second Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your news roundup. I've got 4 items on the docket for today, but we'll see where the wind takes us. Greg DuCharme is here. Mr. Greg, hello.
Hello, gentlemen. Looking forward to tonight's show. A number of topics that I think are really quite interesting, and I know we have an angry golfer with us today, so that should always add a little bit of spice.
Yeah, we have a couple of items that we haven't had a chance to really dive into just yet. We're going to do that. Mark Immelman is also here, and Mark has already told us that he did not play particularly well this morning. Hello, Mark.
Yeah, and Greg's introduced me so emphatically. Yeah, ask me how I played. Just before we get into topical things.
How did you play, Mark?
I played like dog. Just a chance for you to hit your board. Yep. I couldn't hit the driver in the fairway, and it was not the arrow. It was completely the Indian because I have new golf clubs. And not only were they short and high right, like shooting up there like Roman candles, and they just die, they were crooked. And so it was disastrous. And then add fuel to the fire, it rained. So, yeah. So not that golf, my love affair with golf has been slightly tempered today.
Just for today. I'm sure it'll be back on track here shortly. Happy Halloween Eve. Greg, are you going to take the kiddos out tomorrow night?
Well, that's the plan, but I'll tell you what, it is absolutely pouring right now, and it's supposed to be worse tomorrow.
Check them out,
So,
Greg. Come on, I played golf.
I think I'm going to.
Are you only a fair weather Halloweener?
No, but I'm not. I will still take them out in the rain. I'm not afraid of rain. I like rain. I like playing golf in the rain. Now, but this is torrential. It's absolutely pouring. So I'm not sure how much work we're going to get done pounding the pavement tomorrow night. But the boys are going to be, they're both football players. I am going to be a football coach. At least that's the plan. I could use a football coach poncho. I don't have one. I did not plan for that.
Are you going to be Kirby Smart and put like a pillow inside your shirt and run up and down the road calling timeouts?
Yeah. Well, I have a headset
There you go.
For Sirius XM. I have these headsets that have a mic. And so my plan, but I'm not going to wear it in pouring rain because it's going to get damaged. But you know how they hold the mic, talk to the coach, or they have a clipboard. So I was going to say everything, just talk to everybody that I saw like this.
There's a couple of good go-to coach moves that you could pull.
I didn't think about running up and down the sideline calling timeout. I could definitely do that too.
You should dress up as Lane Kiffin with a visor and the new Florida shirt on. Yeah.
When you wake up on November 1st and open up the kids' bag of candy, if there was only one candy in there, what would be the best one to find?
Twix. Are we going to do this again?
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah, we could do it again.
Right. Twix. That's right.
It's Twix.
I thought we settled on this. Twix.
I forgot we did. That wasn't a year ago? That must have been more recent. That must have been more recently we were talking about candy.
It was less than a year ago. Yeah, it was this summer. Now, if I find a non-original Twix, I will be shocked. I'll be miffed. I will take it and send you guys a picture. What do we have here?
Mina is producing the show as usual, and she has just dropped in we went to a Halloween party on Saturday night. This is our costume. She is a soccer referee. I am a football player.
Nice.
He handed out red cards all night long to anybody who did anything to affect them.
Great. Let me tell you what went on here. Rick is rolling around on the ground, acting like an injured football player. They was begging for forgiveness with Mina. But she's doling out the red card because he drank too much bourbon at the party. So now he's in the doghouse.
You're out of here.
Yeah, exactly. See ya.
Shockingly accurate. Yes, very accurate statement there. We had a nice time, but yeah, now I guess we'll just give out candy. Mark, your girls are too old, yes, or are they going to be trick-or-treating?
We don't really trick or treat much in the house. We just kind of buy stuff and we put it out for the kiddies in the neighborhood. But my girls, we've never really done it. They'll dress up once or twice. It's not really a holiday in South Africa. So I'm into Thanksgiving. We obviously love Christmas, Easter, that sort of stuff. But Halloween is kind of like it's a non-starter here with us.
Okay, fair enough.
Just buy a bunch of candy and eat it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You don't need to go asking
That's what
for
we
it.
do,
Just
yeah.
pay for it.
That's what we do.
Although, but here's the thing: I love dressing up. And my 50th birthday party, it was a pirate party, and there were 50 people that came, and everybody dressed up, and we had prizes. Captain Morgan provided prizes for it was
Oh, that's
legendary.
awesome.
So now 55, we didn't do anything. So 56, I think we're going to have a Three Musketeers party, not the candy like D'Artagnan and company, Porthos and Aramis. Yeah.
Okay,
Very cool.
that's very cool. Mark, you got like a little like pirate in you. You like that type of,
Arr.
Always be a pirate, man. The heaven is crying because of my bad golf, so I'm going to become a pirate again. I'm done with golf.
Perfect. You can be a podcaster for the next 45 minutes or so.
Yeah,
I've got 4 topics for today. Greg knows what they are. I asked Mark if he wanted to know what they were, and he said no, because he's a professional and he doesn't need to know. And we are going to get his raw, unfiltered opinions on these. So what I'm going to do, Greg, is I'm just going to ask Mark to pick a number 1 through 4. Pick a number 1 through 4, Mark. That is where we will go with this news roundup first.
My lucky number.
2.
2.
Oh, it's a
The
sad
number of balls you had to hit off of each tee today.
Touche.
Sorry.
That was a douche move, man.
I had to.
You know what makes it so crappy was actually true.
That is, I feel for you because I have been there and it's the worst.
Remember, short and crooked.
Short and crooked. Number 2, news story number 2 is one that we never got a chance to talk about. It's a sad one. The Century will not be played. The Plantation Course at Kapalua. We talked about this a little bit a couple of months ago. An ongoing water dispute really just kind of destroyed this golf course. We were seeing the aerial footage completely browned out. I'm happy to report that public play is opening back up at the Plantation Course. It's looking a lot greener. It's getting more into shape, but it's not up to PGA Tour standards, Mark. And they looked around at a bunch of different options. Maui is only so big. Hawaii is only so big. You've got to have infrastructure. You've got to have everything else that goes into a PGA Tour event. They could not get the job done. So it's actually going to be the Sony Open that leads off the 2026 calendar.
Yeah, it's sort of quite sad because the Century is such a great event, and I've been there, so I'm very fortunate. But the one thing about watching that event, and you can see there, what the fairways look like right now, and then you've got the straight there with Molokai on the other side, which is gorgeous, and the views for all of us folks in the East in the middle of winter kind of just let you know that right around the corner is springtime and that sort of thing. So that's going to suck a little bit. But I spoke with someone here recently who was out there in Maui, and he said the pictures don't do it justice how bad the golf course actually is in terms of being burnt out and just nothing to it. And then he said, but right up the road in all the pineapple plantations and stuff, everything's green. So it's sad that, whatever the government, wherever the dispute was, figured that, well, the golf course has got to suffer the consequence here. Now, I guess I can understand it. And it's something to bear in mind for something down the road, because water is such a valuable commodity and very green golf courses demand a lot of water. So this does hurt. It stings for many reasons. This golf tournament had a big impact on the charities around the area. If you think of just down the road, I'm slipping my mind now, when they had that huge fire, the name of the little town, which was gorgeous. So
Lahaina.
I was thinking of Lanai. Yeah, Lahaina. And it's sad now that the PGA Tour won't be able to bring money there, but I am certain that Century and the folks will do something still to try and make some sort of charitable contribution to the area, because this event does a lot for everything around there. And everyone needs to be commended on the job they normally do. We're going to miss it this year, but hopefully next year it'll be back. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed indeed. Now, there is a little bit of pessimism. I just say a little bit, Greg. The real pessimists are concerned about this because they look at, the Century not happening this year. I believe that Sony is only scheduled to be a title sponsor through this year or through next year. So there is not a long-term deal there. And when you start talking about the considerable costs it takes to play 2 events on an island, 3,000 miles away from the West Coast, there is a concern that maybe this Hawaiian opening swing just doesn't exist in the future.
Well, look, things change. I am not a pessimist about it. Sony's been around for so long. I have a hard time imagining they're not going to get something done. And this event with Century, they have a contract that goes through, I believe, 2031. There's
it's 2035, but you're absolutely
2035, right? So there's some significant time there, and does Century really want to leave? And this is with Brian Rolapp coming over from the NFL, a lot of magnifying glasses have gone up on these events on the PGA Tour, and it seems like the perspective is always, what are the ratings? And if the ratings aren't what you expect, then we're just going to cancel them. And if it goes up against football, then we're just not going to have an event. Now, I'm not saying that's what Brian Rolapp is saying at all, but that seems to be the way it's interpreted by many of perhaps the pessimists. And I don't really think that's serving the full purpose of the PGA Tour. Right, the fall swing has had a lot of scrutiny as well. We discussed earlier a couple weeks ago about the importance of the FedEx Cup Fall and what that means. And as Mark just discussed, the importance in these communities are significant. And I'm very curious about the costs and what kind of dollars and cents are coming in for the PGA Tour. But even if it's expensive, I have a hard time imagining it loses money. These events lose money. So my hope is that golf stays in Hawaii. I think it's a great spot to open the PGA Tour season. If it has to move off the island, I don't think that's the end of the world either. But I think that first week in January is an important time to find a nice place to open the PGA Tour season. My hope is that it's at Kapalua. My expectation is that it'll be at Kapalua. And I believe that the PGA Tour will stay in Hawaii.
Rick, Greg brings up a really good point there about the magnitude of a PGA Tour event and what it takes. Now, quickly to Waialae, which is just a beautiful old course there outside of Honolulu, or very close to Waikiki. And Sony has been a sponsor there for now, I think they're entering their 29th year. And when I was there in person, I was astounded at the huge Sony presence. And they've got a beautiful hotel there right on the beach, and a lot of Sony clientele come over there. And it's essentially a great way to kick off the year, a great way for Sony to entertain people, a great way for people to sort of get away from the humdrum and sort of start off with a little bit of that aloha spirit a little bit. And so I can't really see Sony going away, even though they may be in negotiations. Century having the long-term contract is a good idea, but on the island of Maui, in terms of big resorts where you can accommodate something like this, they're few and far between. So perhaps if it stays in the islands, it moves somewhere else. But as far as I'm concerned, the whole Kapalua area is just gorgeous, and there's so much room for TV people, for Century and guests, for players and families. So it is really my hope that somehow this water thing gets figured out, and that we get to go back there in 2027, because it is a tremendous kickoff to the year, and it's a great way to sort of celebrate the champions and now the top 30 and whoever else qualifies, because it's just an incredible trip. It's a long trip, but it's incredible to start the year out there.
Sony has been a title sponsor since 1999, so 26 years. It's one of the longest running sponsorships on the PGA Tour. According to Google and Google AI's results, there is a title sponsor. The longest dates back to 1986. Any guesses at who that sponsor?
Well, Shell was for the longest time.
Yeah, that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
used to be the Houston Open most recently.
John Deere.
Very good guess. That is the second longest.
1986, you said.
I know. Yeah.
Title sponsor, same event? Was it moved around?
I believe it's the same event, but here's the thing: the name of the company has changed, which might be.
Oh.
Give us a clue.
It might be your mobile phone provider, AT&T.
Oh, yes.
AT&T. That makes a lot.
But that
of
used to be
sense.
what, Bell Atlantic. That used to
Western
be
Bell. Yeah, exactly. right.
exactly. So
Yeah, I was thinking like Charles Schwab, but no. Wells Fargo was there for no.
Yeah. You guys were close. You were on it. You circled it. But yes, to put a bow on that, the good news for golf, specifically in Maui, is that connection to Century. Century is also, they've also partnered with Maui and Lahaina, as they call them, connected communities, like sister cities that you see in some countries, and they donate a lot to the wildlife relief. So yeah, there is at least positive sentiment on that front if Sony doesn't extend. Okay, Greg, number 2 is off the board. Would you like news story 1, 3, or 4?
3.
Oh, you little devil, you. Okay.
I know these topics. I don't know the order of them.
Right. We discussed a brand new event coming to the PGA Tour next year, the Good event. We also discussed how this is going to be a little bit of a different type of sponsorship from your AT&Ts and your Sonys and your big corporations, and that they're going to be able to do a lot of different things. And Greg, after we talked about it, they've already announced one of the new big things that they're doing, and they're bringing back the big break. So if you remember this from early 2000s, the big break was golf's reality television show on the Golf Channel, where they, couple dozen guys would play down to a winner, and you could get sponsors invites. I mean, Tony Finau was on the big break. Wesley Bryan was on the big break. It was canceled in 2015. The new startup, the new big break with good collaboration, Greg, is going to award the winner a spot in that good event,
which is a somewhat limited field already. I believe that's only 120 players as it is. Look, this is a really cool thing. It's a new twist. There is at least a golf component to it. I don't know what the competitions will be, but I'm sure that it's going to lead to a really good player getting a shot to play in a PGA Tour event. And in today's day and age, we are going to fewer and fewer opportunities for members or potential members. We've reduced cards, we've reduced field sizes. In some cases, we've even reduced some events. So we'll see what happens here. But I'm a big fan of giving guys an opportunity to go play, as long as they're somewhat qualified, right? I don't need to see and I don't believe this is going to be along those lines. I don't need to see Tony Romo in a competition to get a spot. Not to pick on Tony, but you understand, I don't need to see celebrities getting into PGA Tour events. So hopefully this ends up being a program where an aspiring professional golfer gets a break, which is the purpose of the name of the show. And I think that's a really cool way to do it. It's a really cool opportunity, and I think it'll be entertaining to watch as well.
We are going to see, Mark, good as a title sponsor of an event do things a lot differently than we've seen before. So I'm not going to compare good to the NFL. I'm not going to do it. But what I like about the NFL, what the NFL has done a very good job at, is the NFL season lasts 4 months, but it is relevant 12 months a year, because you get training camp and draft conversation and free agency and like all this stuff, right? There's just something to talk about all year long, and it's just this content machine all year long. Now, a lot of title sponsors on the PGA Tour, they get their 4 days, they get their week, maybe 2 weeks, and we don't think about them again maybe until next year. That's not going to be the case. Good is going to basically take advantage of this title sponsorship. We're already seeing it here. There's going to be 12 episodes of this show. I'm sure they are going to be doing their own content on YouTube around this golf course in Texas that many people have not seen before, leading up, during, and after the championship. So this is going to be very different than any other sponsorship that we have because of the nature of the audience and the nature of the content that these guys can do.
Agreed. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for the negotiations of this thing, because do you remember when there was an influencer, Grant Horvat, who got an invitation to play in a PGA Tour event, and then the PGA Tour said to him, "You can't, video your own stuff because we are the rights holders for this." And this was part of the beef with Bryson DeChambeau and company, where they were like, "We don't have the rights to our own NIL, if you will." So they moved off to Live, and so now they own their own image and likeness and stuff, and they do with it what they wish. Anyhow, I share that sidebar to go that the tour are very protective about the rights. So I'm keen to see how Good managed to navigate this whole thing to be able to pull off this deal. Now, obviously, being a title sponsor affords you a certain amount of leverage, but I'm still keen to see how this whole thing is going to pan out. So yes, on the surface, it appears to be a situation where they can really take this and run with it and create a whole lot of stuff around this idea the entire year. But then again, there are certain rights that the PGA Tour holds. So I'm keen to see how this whole thing transpires. And once the deal is, I don't know if the deal has been finalized, but once the deal is finalized. So that's the only question I have, because I know the difficulty of, just even using video that I personally shoot at a PGA Tour event. You've got to be very, very careful as you kind of navigate this road.
Yeah. And we're not privy to that, but Greg, I would imagine that would be a non-starter. Is like, hey, if we can't at least showcase the guy who gets into our event via our big break, like this is a non-starter for us. So yeah. I don't know. We'll find out. But I do think it's interesting because a line has been drawn. Now that line was also drawn, if you will, under the previous regime. Maybe the new regime is a little more relaxed about that.
Mm-hmm. And it's likely a collaborative effort as well. Right. And a lot of the stuff that I imagine that they'll be doing leading into the event is not the media right of the PGA Tour. Some of it will be, some of it will be protected for whatever reasons, I'm sure. But they'll have a lot of opportunity during the event. When you have actual competition going on, that's when I would worry. I would imagine that even in the lead up on a practice round day on the range, leading into it, they would be very willing to work with the PGA Tour. Would be very willing to have good there. They do that kind of thing with Golf Channel and all kinds of media partners. So it's interesting because they're a title sponsor and a media partner. Or and a media company, which it's like if CBS was the title sponsor of a PGA Tour event, they would obviously have those rights. But I don't know if Good is going to be broadcasting the event. You know what I'm saying? So this is a very unique circumstance where a media company is for the first time sponsoring a PGA Tour event.
Well, you bring up a good point there. And when I was talking about the arrangement, I was talking about the event, the PGA Tour event that we're doing in the fall, not necessarily the big break. Because the big break is a Golf Channel property. And so as a result, that's a deal that's done with Golf Channel. Same as what you say, like if CBS were a title sponsor for a PGA Tour event. It wouldn't concern them much because right now, as a rights holder, they hold the first right to all broadcast stuff, and the PGA Tour has to give credit for, at the end of the shows to say footage courtesy of CBS Sports or whatever the case might be. So there's that relationship going on. I will say this, in my last few years, and I'm sure that Rick probably saw this as well when you were down there in Ponte Vedra in that big new studio, they're looking for a lot of content. And there was a show that I was on one time for PGA Tour Live where we had a Bryan Brothers drop-in on stream 4. So they in search of content, and the content providers, since Chad Mum came on board with Scratch, these guys are getting a whole lot, guys and girls are getting a whole lot more airtime. So it looks like it's kind of going that way a little bit. The Skins game, for argument's sake, is a Scratch property now in conjunction with the PGA Tour. And then I watch old Dan Rappaport. Sorry, my dogs are going crazy in the background here.
That's okay.
I watch Dan Rappaport, who basically gets footage right after the tournament's done on his show, whatever. I can't remember the name of it.
It's called Dan on Golf. Come on.
Right. Sorry, Dan. So it does seem like there's an appetite for this sort of stuff. But still, during the events, it's a tough road to hoe if you're not a rights holder.
Maybe we're 5 years away from, or sooner. Maybe it just airs, Greg, right on Good Goods YouTube channel. You said that, and I was like, I mean, maybe they will distribute it. Maybe they will. Maybe they will be the.
I was sitting on a board meeting a couple nights ago, and the folks were talking about it's a charity, and focusing on just the power of YouTube and what it's representing right now. And YouTube is not becoming even, a viable broadcasting platform. And it's powerful and only growing when you have Thursday Night Football or whatever presented by YouTube and Amazon and these people. It's going to be the blink of an eye before Amazon has a TV channel. I mean, that's about to happen.
Yeah, they kind of already do.
Yeah. And not to derail this, but like that is why I'm shocked that Liv ever left YouTube. I thought Liv being on YouTube was their greatest asset. They were immediately and easily available in everybody's phone, computer, in their hand, all over the globe, and they gave it up for
CW
TV or with CW. Yeah. I could not believe that. I thought that was their biggest advantage, and they handed it away. So yeah, I'm with you on that one, Mark. Number 1 and number 4 are left.
You pick.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go with number 4. So I'm just gonna ask you two a question, and I don't want any hemming and hawing. I don't want any this and that. I just want a name. That's all I want. Okay. Greg, who is the greatest golfer to ever live?
Jack Nicklaus.
Mark, who is the greatest golfer to ever live?
Jack Nicklaus.
Greg, who is the second greatest golfer to ever live?
Tiger Woods.
Mark, who is the second greatest golfer to ever live?
Tiger Woods.
Greg, who is the third greatest golfer to ever live?
Ben Hogan.
Mark, who is the third greatest golfer to ever live?
I'm torn here. Bobby Jones.
Okay. Well, according to the man himself, there is not even a question that Gary Player is the third best golfer in history.
He did
an interview recently where he said, clearly Jack Nicklaus is number 1. Tiger could have been number 1 if he, quote, had made the right decisions, but there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If doesn't matter. And then he said very clearly he is the third best golfer. There is not even a question about that. He says he judges the best players of all time with a record book. It's on paper, he says. That's why Nicklaus gets the best record. It's why he gets the third best record. So, Mark, I don't think, the South African connection here, I don't think Gary has ever lacked confidence in himself and his place in the history of the game. Clearly one of the greatest ever, but solidly third, he says.
Look, I love Gary. I'm fortunate that he's a mentor. I look up to him. He's a hero of mine. And he says these sorts of things at times. And this is the thing he's always said to all of us South Africans, and a lot of them took him seriously. Like Ernie Els, Gary said, I've traveled more miles around the world playing golf than any other golfer. And so you can call me the greatest worldwide golfer. So when he says in the world, that's probably where he's going. It's a question of semantics that might have been misunderstood by a headline or whatever. But Gary has traveled to all corners of the globe playing and winning. He's won the Grand Slam. Now, I find it curious because he will say to me, or he's said to me, best golfer, that I've ever seen play, where he goes, if you want to learn about ball striking, go and watch Lee Trevino. And then Gary would say to me, oh, Bob Jones, greatest, just because of the man, the statesman, the golfer, the record, the whole sort of thing. Because Jones played a limited schedule and won everything he played in, basically. He won all the majors that there were when he was playing. He did that in 1 year. And so Gary's made that argument. And then Gary will also speak of how great Ben Hogan was and his reverence for Ben Hogan and how Mr. Hogan gave him a lesson one time. It was how the right leg worked. And then Gary will also speak about Jack and Tiger and especially Arnold Palmer. And my reverence, I don't want to use the word twice, but the way I look up to Arnold Palmer is a function of Gary Player and the way he's spoken about him. So look, I know Gary's going to say stuff like this. As far as I'm concerned, what's he, 89 or something? Now he's earned the right to say whatever he pleases. He does have the record. He has traveled more around the globe than anybody, and he's still doing that. He's incredible for what he's done with his fitness and how he played in 51 Masters tournaments, and he broke the Arnold Palmer record. And that spoke to what he believed too, because we were all like, you don't break the King's record at Augusta National. And Mr. Player said to us, he goes, then why have I been trying to prove to people that healthy living is worthwhile? I'm going to do this because I can. So there are many, I sound like a litigator that's taking both sides here. So you could look at it from both sides. But as far as I'm concerned, having listened to Mr. Player, the way he talks with adulation about Jones and Hogan and Trevino and such. Look, Trevino's not that high on the list, but Jones and Hogan certainly are. I'm struck that Gary would say that.
There's a lot to this. I actually think this is a good conversation to even say, hey, Gary should be in that conversation. It is fun. We talk about one, we talk about two, but who's that number three? And when you start putting in the global side of things, Gary gets a huge boost here. So he's credited for 159 professional wins all over the globe. Like basically, I think it's every continent but Antarctica. I mean, it's something outrageous. And that is just what he has been credited with. There's probably a lot more than that. The career Grand Slam, he does get probably a little overlooked, but Greg, you went with Ben Hogan. That's a 9-time major champion. Gary's got 9 as well. Yeah. If you think maybe, okay, let's go more modern. Well, Watson started right as Player was winding down, and he's only one major behind. If you think majors get harder to win as time goes on. So I actually think this is a really good opportunity to like honor the great career of Gary Player, even though what he said is probably a little ridiculous.
Well, I don't. The ridiculous part of what he said is that there's no question about it. Okay.
I got lots of questions about it.
He is in the conversation. And I'll tell you this. I was messing around with Chat GPT.
Oh, good.
Okay. And I was trying to come up with a formula for, how to make a list of the greatest golfers of all time. Like if you put in certain levers, how do the rankings go? And I put a significant weight on majors and a less significant weight on international victories, which Mr. Player would clearly not like very much.
He would put you in a headlock for that.
Yeah. So, PGA Tour wins. I did an era boost, so to speak. And Gary came out at number 3 in some, number 4 in some versions, number 5 in some versions. I think the closest version I have, which is still very flawed, has him 5. He is not far off from number 3, but there is a question about it. Like he played in 150 majors. That is an astonishing number, and he should be credited for that. But Ben Hogan won 9 majors and played in 58. That's a significant difference, right? They have the same total. But one guy played in a third of the the number. And I know that many of Mr. Players were late in his career and he wasn't necessarily contending for a victory. But I put a bigger weight on the PGA Tour. I think that when you look at tours worldwide, you can get into some very weak fields. And so Gary Players playing in South Africa or playing in Australia, and somebody else there's another group, there's a whole group playing here in the States, and everybody's spread out. So the totals are totally different. You don't know if he would have beaten them or would not have, or if those guys were playing here, if they would have beaten him or would not have. It becomes very complicated. So if you look at the numbers, they are extremely close. Like this list that I have right now, it has Ben Hogan at 67 points and Gary Player at 61 points.
What's it got Jones as?
In a separate category. Okay.
Greg GPT doesn't treat Bobby Jones the way
I don't.
The PGA Tour was not even a thing back then.
I know. That's why it's a separate category. If you run the numbers, just numbers, Bobby Jones is 27th.
My
now
God.
you have him, but you have to understand where they come from, right? Bobby Jones has 7 majors. He's got somehow the robots gave him 9 PGA Tour wins. I get 7 of them, I guess. I really don't even understand that. So he should really be lower because I don't know that he won 9 PGA Tour events. He was an amateur. The British Am is not a
PGA Tour back then. That's why.
I know.
I'll tell you why. Here's what the robots are doing. The robots are pulling from Wikipedia, which says he has 9 PGA Tour events because it counts his 7 majors as PGA Tour wins. It counts the Southern Open and the Southeastern Open.
So those are the other 2. So it gives him 9.
Do you know where the Southern Open originated?
Atlanta.
Columbus, Georgia, baby.
Columbus, Georgia.
Just around the corner from me. Wait. Okay. So who of you trust AI?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, I'm going to read to you because I just typed it in while Greg was doing his thing. And this is what AI says. I asked the question, what's the list of the best golfers ever? Number 1, Nicklaus. Number 2, Woods. Number 3, Hogan. Number 4, Jones. Number 5, Sam Snead. Number 6, Arnold Palmer. 7, Gary Player. 8, Walter Hagen. 9, Tom Watson. 10, Phil Mickelson.
It's not a bad list.
That's what the AI says. So now
there are like some little tweaks that I'd make in there.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, okay. I'm going to let you tweak all you like now, because let's say we created the Mount Rushmore for golfers. Have a go, Greg. You first, then you, Rick.
Rushmore is hard because you only get 4, Greg.
Exactly, Greg.
This is hard.
You're not looking at your strokes gained list, are you?
No, I'll check out strokes gained off the tee because I think approach play is really important. So I'll give a bump to Tiger. Tiger's on there. Nicklaus is on there. Hogan is on there, and I think there's a place for Bobby Jones on there, and I don't believe Bobby Jones is the 4th greatest golfer of all time. But
he created
when you're talking about Mount Rushmore,
that's right.
He is the greatest amateur of all time. And when he played, being an amateur was the thing to be.
Elite, exactly.
You know,
the pros were riffraff.
Pros were right. I mean, his caddy was probably a pro. You know, that's a problem. So he is the greatest of all time in a category, and I think that puts him on Mount Rushmore. And then I would put Tiger, Jack, and the Hawk.
I think that's right. So I think when you start talking Rushmore, you have to consider the overall contributions, which is why, like, you can make an argument Arnold Palmer should be on Mount Rushmore.
Yeah,
he's the reason for the PGA Tour.
Right. So, like, when you start talking about contributions to the game, that is what I think Rushmore is, not necessarily the 4 greatest golfers. So Jack, Tiger, boom, boom, that's a layup. I think Hogan Jones is right, but if you wanted to swap either 2 of those for Arnold Palmer, I'd be fine for a Mount Rushmore. But I think Greg has
with that spirit, it would have to be you take Hogan off,
take Hogan,
put
Palmer
Palmer in. I'm agreeing. Yeah.
But Hogan, and then you could put Player in that with if you were if you consider what he's done worldwide.
He's actually more likely to be on Mount Rushmore than to be in the top 4 golfers.
Could make an argument.
So much for the game and globally and all that stuff. Yeah.
I think Gary Player is very clearly in somewhere between number 3 and number 6 all-time greatest golfers. I think in there's a lot of, like those wins, all those international wins are not created equal.
I want to say this, okay? Now, this is opening up another can of worms. But if you haven't seen it and you have the opportunity, you've got to go on Thursday morning at the Masters and watch the ceremonial tee shots. And to see Player, now Watson and Nicholas on the tee, and the numbers next to their names is not their entry number, it's their age. And you see Gary, the oldest of the bunch, get up there, rip one down the fairway, and then do the high leg kick like he always does. I'm like, this dude is everlasting. He's going to be here for the next 100 years. And there is an argument to be made for greatest golfers of all time. I mean, he's an old-timer. He's lasting longer than every other one of them.
In his own words, all his friends are dead. And that is all you need to know.
Except for Jack.
About Gary Player, who turns 90 on Saturday, November 1st, 2 days away. So
happy birthday.
Happy early birthday.
I love him. I mean, there's so many times we've been in like food lines and stuff, and he'll look at your plate and he goes, "You eating that rubbish?" And I'm like, "Yes, Mr. Player." And he goes, "That'll kill you, And I'm like, "Okay, are you gonna have yours?" But is the passion of the man is infectious. And the attitude of the guy is like nauseatingly positive. He told me one time, he goes, "I never get a bad bounce. Never, ever." And I was like, thinking behind my eyes, I'm like, "You are crazy." But he truly believes it. And that's why he still gets good bounces, because it's all he sees. He doesn't ever see the negative. He will turn a day full of rain into the brightest day in the world. I mean, the strength of his mind is unbelievable. And that's why he's still going on.
I love when he says, "You're champions with the fork and knife."
He came on my podcast like way back in the day, right? I wish I still had this. Actually, it was when it was still like a on-demand radio show. And I interviewed him, and it was supposed to be about how I play golf. But with Gary, it could kind of go off the rails a little bit. And so I said to him, "So, Mr. Player, let's revisit this tournament, like the Masters, playing alongside Seve, where you charged to 64, and that inspired Ballesteros to be a future Masters champion." And he pivots straight into obesity in the United States. He goes, "It's a disease, and we've just got to watch what we eat, because people are killing themselves with the amount of sugar and stuff." I'm like, oh, gosh. I was just wanting to talk about the Masters,
That's why he's going to outlive all of us. We'll be kicking. All right, last item here is actually the newest item, I believe, as far as maybe not. The old course at St. Andrews is preparing itself for the 2027 Open, a golf course that has been around for hundreds of years, trying to compete and defend itself against the modern players. They're going to add 132 yards thanks to 4 new tee boxes. Where those tee boxes go on 5, 6, 7, and 10, not exactly available yet, but it'll be there to add that yardage. And the par 5 fifth is going to see the biggest increase, 35 yards. So this is another mark in this ongoing conversation, discussion around the length of modern golf, Greg, how golf courses can continue to exist in the future, the rollback, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now the old course is going to add as much as they can, basically, to be ready for 2027.
This is not only the home of golf, but also the home of the rollback. There's little doubt in my mind about that. This is definitely the place that they want to preserve. What I find so interesting about it is typically when we get to Open Championship venues, distance is not the challenge, right? It's a place where you got to hit different clubs off the tee, and it's a lot more like Florida golf, where there are penalties you have to avoid. And when you can avoid those penalties, or if you get good weather, then you can play very well. But it's a penal style of golf most of the time in the links rota, in the open rota. And distance isn't the reason why it's penal. But the old course has a different set of circumstances in that it's very wide, and you can hit driver all over the place. So when I look at great open champions, or if I'm trying to find a course comparison or look at somebody's open record, if we're going to St. Andrews, it's a totally different set of criteria than the rest of the courses in the Rota. A completely different comparison, which I find to be interesting. So is 132 yards going to make it's certainly not going to make it a golf course that's unbearably long. And I think, like always, it will depend on the weather. What I'm most curious with is the bunkers. And I think ultimately, if I were involved in St. Andrews making enhancements and trying to increase the challenge, bunkering would be the place I would look. Because ultimately, I feel in 2022, St. Andrews, partly because of the weather, mainly because of the weather, it lacked penalties. So players were able to be extremely aggressive. And that had a much bigger impact on the distance, in my opinion, than the actual length of the holes.
Well, this will be music to Greg's ears then, Mark, because there are some new bunkers that are going to be coming into play as well. 6, 10, 16, where over the years, the bunkers are just not in play. Fairway bunkers are just not even in the sight line for a lot of these players. The R&A described it as putting bunkers closer to, quote, elite level drive length, end quote. So yeah, 260-yard carry, not a problem for the professional golfers around the world. So the R&A going to try to do something about that as well.
Yeah, this is so hard because this is the home of golf. And quickly to the bunkering, most of these bunkers have got names around there. You've got the Principal's Nose, and you've got Deacon Syme, and you've got Hell Bunker, and you've got Strath Bunker, and they've all got a story behind them too. There's Granny Clark's Wind, which is the little walkway across there. It's like, it smacks of history. So to me, you can't move those bunkers to defend the game. So if you're going to put more bunkering in, I get it. I will say this, adding 100 and something yards to this golf course is going to amount to zero. Absolutely nothing. Because when this place plays fast, these guys are going to be ripping it down there anyway. To Greg's point, it's only going to make a difference when you get certain wins around there. If you want to really push the envelope, though, and I am embarrassed that I'm even pitching this idea, because this is the old course and it should just remain the old course. And when we go there and play, you got to prepare yourself for the fact that if there's no weather, 20 something under par is going to win. And the guys are going to go out in 29 and back in, something higher, because the back 9 is harder than the front. But if you really want to make this place penal, Greg, then you put out of bounds stakes down the middle of 3 and 15, 4 and 14, 5 and 13, and 6 and 12. Let me tell you, you will defend scoring very quickly then, because right now, the way that golf course plays, because it goes out, then you go around the loop and it comes back in. For that matter, if we're being frisky, you can put out of bounds stakes down the middle of 1 and 18 as well.
Those are the shared fairways, basically, that Mark is alluding to.
So because the
rule
inside
around of the golf course.
Yeah, the rule of the place when you're going out and coming in is if you're unsure, you just hit it left.
Because you got a world of room left.
You do. The only problem is On 14, you got the coffins down the left-hand side there, which if you're in there, you're dead. Okay. But if they
Probably
got
why they're called coffins.
if you got out of bounds stakes down there, you're going to find guys gearing down. But then the problem with it is that Bob Jones, his inspiration for Augusta National was the old course. Because back when Jones played it, it was about strategy. You could take the aggressive line down the right-hand side and have an easier approach, or you can take the safety, which John Daly did when he won there. He just bashed driver down the left side of those holes every single time, sometimes into the other fairway. And then you've got a difficult approach, but you're coming in with a shorter club. So then you're thumbing your nose at a guy who should be on Mount Rushmore for golf, saying, well, Augusta National, well, they kind of done it anyway because now we have the second cut. Because remember, Augusta National was wide open. You could drive it anywhere. But if you drove it in a certain area, it made a certain approach shot to those difficult greens harder or easier. So if you had out of bounds stakes down there, it would change stuff quickly. But then you have the problem of pace of play. Because what tends to happen around the old course is there's waiting and you have folks around the loop running into each other. And if you have one boy pop one out of bounds, then there's a big traffic jam in a massive open championship field. So it's one of those things where you it's like you do or you don't. Either way, I don't think you succeed. So I'm still of the opinion that you can come up with all these clever ideas, and there are lots of very smart folks thinking about them. But here's the thing. It's the old course at St. Andrews. It's been there for hundreds of years. Just go and play it. If weather plays in your favor, par will be a decent score. If it doesn't, it's going to be a birdie fest. But you know what? At the end of the week, someone still becomes the champion golfer of the year. He's got to shoot one lower than the second place guy. That's where I stand.
Well said, Mark.
Here's something, Greg, and I tend to agree with Mark that just like who cares what the score is. If you're gonna keep the old course in the Rota, just play the old course, and if 500 under par wins, then 500 under par win. Like, who cares? Paul in the chat asked the question that seems on the surface like an insane question, right? This would get him
Oh, my heart.
right. This would get him strung up in the town square if he ever said this out loud. It says maybe they shouldn't go to the old course anymore. Now,
someone got a brown paper bag for me.
Now, it's not that crazy, Greg, because here's the thing. Other sports have retired historical venues that were no longer up to the modern game. They don't go to the Polo Grounds anymore. They don't go to Ebbets Field anymore. They don't go to Shibe or Forbes Field. They don't go to these places because the modern game of baseball, for example, has surpassed it. And now there's a new thing. And there'll always be a spot for the Polo Grounds in history, but we're not going to send Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout there. Just like maybe we shouldn't be sending Scotty Scheffler and Bryson DeChambeau to the old course.
Well, I think that's very well said, Rick. There are, we, for instance, don't go to Prestwick anymore. And you know what happens at Prestwick is when you make a trip to Scotland to play, you go play Prestwick. It is not lost from history. It is not obsolete from the game. It just simply doesn't host the Open Championship anymore. So I don't have a problem with that. I think things evolve, things change. Is the best we can do for modern golf something that was built in the 1400s? I think that there's room for improvement. I think one of our big problems in the game of golf is the hold to traditional places. And I think we can do better going forward. Houses were great in 1950, but we update them. We build new ones, better ones, more suitable for today's day and age. So I think that's a very realistic possibility. And at the same time, I don't think that we have to leave. It's a 7,400-yard golf course. That's plenty long. You know, it can work. You got to find a way to add some penalties. Because ultimately it can be 7,800 yards, and if there's no penalties, it's not long enough. It could be 8,000 yards, and if there's no penalties, it's not long enough. They will score. So scoring is not a function of length. And I think there are countless instances where we see that throughout the years. I think 7,400 yards, I think 7,300 yards is enough length. But if you're going to have par fours that are somewhat drivable, there needs to be some thought that goes into it. Like if you had 18 number 10s at Riviera on a golf course, it would be very short in total, and it would be very challenging. You got to think on that hole. You got to figure out what the best strategy is. And I think the only way to do that with modern data and the modern player is to add penalties. So I actually think Mark's idea of out of bounds, I'm not a big fan of internal out of bounds, but it's a great idea.
Hey, let me put it to you this way too. Now I'm thinking like a broadcast guy. I was looking at the ratings for the Open Championship. Now this is not globally, this is just the United States. Now it's saying here that the best TV ratings for the Open was 2025. Scotty won at Portrush. I'm feeling like a lot of people tuned in because there was so much hype about Portrush, and the Open Championship was going back there, and Rory was going there as the Masters champion. So there were all these bylines, right? But then the second most watched Open Championship was 22 at the Old Course, because everybody wants to see it. And not everyone's griping about the low score that was shot. And the reality of the thing is that Cam Smith is such a crooked driver of the ball, is that if he was at any other links course, he probably wasn't winning. That week it just panned out for him, and Rory laid an egg over the second 9 holes on the final day. So it's one of those places, like if you've ever been, St Andrews as a town is so cool. And St Andrews as a town during the Open Championship is unreal. And then you have an Open Championship there, and as a fan to watch it, because it goes out and in, it's hard to see, but you still just go there for the atmosphere. Now, I hear what you guys are saying about, legendary venues and taking them away, but it would be like a sore thumb to take away the Open Championship at St Andrews, despite what the score is that's shot, because it's just such a venerable venue, and the town is just so great.
I think my opinion, and I agree with you, Mark. I think my opinion of it is, don't be constantly changing it until it's not the Old Course anymore. Just commit to playing the Old Course as it is. You know what I mean? It doesn't. You mentioned the history of the bunkers and the history of everything. Is like, don't ruin that trying to protect it from itself where it no longer is itself.
Exactly.
But I think you can change it. Like, what's the greatest golf course in the world?
You tell us. Augusta National.
Augusta National, when it was originally designed, hole number 16 was on the other side of, it was a creek then. It wasn't even a pond. Now it's a pond. It was on the other side. Number 10 was number 1. The green if you look at these original green complexes, they're very different than they are today. And Alistair McKenzie believed that you need to build golf courses with room to grow for the future, which that's ironically in a book called The Spirit of St. Andrews.
Yeah, because he went to St. Andrews and said, "Oh man, we can't go in any direction. I better change my philosophy on this."
You know what you could do? I'm going to interrupt because I'm forgetful now. Because that golf course, you can play it backward.
Yes.
You can go from 1 tee to 17 green.
So
why don't you turn one around and go in the opposite direction and see what's scoring?
They should do it like the Hunger Games, where every 25 years it's a special Hunger Games. Every 25 years you play the open course backwards.
Well, when they go to the Open Championship, and Ian Baker Finch tells me it's his favorite thing in the world. They play the stretch of holes. They play 1, 2, 3, and then I think they come in 16, 17, 18. And then I think they play them backwards as well. And all the Open champions that are able to play go there and play. And he goes, it's the most incredible celebration of golf. he gets nervous to go and play in it. And the funniest thing was, the last time the Open was there in 2022. So I'm up and I'm watching this, and Finchie is on the first tee, and they show everyone teeing off because they're all Open champions, right? And he wears an Apple Watch, and he's announced he's making his practice swings, and his Apple Watch goes off, and you can see him checking a message on his phone. So I checked him. I'm like, "What are you doing checking your phone when you're on the first tee at the old course?" But just that's a silly aside. But you could play the course backwards if you really want to get a little freaky with kind of beefing up the old course.
I love that.
I'm all for evolution. You know, that is ultimately in these new enhancements. It's a good thing. You're willing to make adjustments. It needs to be adjusted. It's and I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. It's still the home of golf.
2027 St. Andrews, 2026 next year, Royal Birkdale. We don't have 2028 yet,
Which is
this is not the PGA Championship where they give us 50 years out or whatever this is.
Well, I've heard rumbling. Muirfield is great.
That makes sense.
I still think they got to clear up their beef with certain individuals and go back to Turnberry.
I'll tell you what.
They'll say it's logistics, but I disagree. I don't
know, man. He's got a lot of momentum these days. 28 might be Turnberry for all we know.
But what is the greatest Open of all time in you guys? 77 at Turnberry, the duel in the sun. Nicholas and Watson coming down the stretch there.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of duels, our second cut survivor on Splash is down to just 82. That's the official number, Greg. We were trying to figure out what that number was last week. Down to 82. Greg is still alive. Mina is still alive. We did not ask for your official picks, but Greg, do you know who you're going with this week?
Yes.
Tell me.
I'm going with the Los Angeles Rams.
The Los Angeles Rams.
The New Orleans Saints. And
they got a new quarterback.
Yeah.
They're starting.
Who's old? He's like old. I heard he's like a very old new quarterback.
Who's quarterbacking for the Saints now?
Oh God, his name is
Shuck. Is his name Shuck?
It's spelled weird. Yeah, it's spelled Shough, but he's out of Louisville. Tyler Shuck, I think he pronounces it.
He was the backup to Justin Herbert at Oregon.
Yeah, he's 26 years old. He's a 26-year-old rookie.
Yes. So
pretty old.
Yeah,
but hey,
ancient.
Little spark is what they need.
26, pretty old.
Greg is going to go with the Rams, who are 14.5-point favorites. Mina, do you know who you're going with? Are you going to hop in?
I think I'm going with the Packers.
The Green Bay Packers.
And now you're going to hit us with a drop, Mina. Come on. Round of applause.
Okay, that's enough.
Hey, Rick, ask me who am I going with?
Who you go with this week, Mark?
Nobody, man. All right. Well done. I was waiting for you to do that.
The Packers are also nearly 2 touchdown favorites, 13.5 points over the Panthers. 82 to go. Somebody is going to win. Wow. $26,280.
Okay,
significant.
Let's resolve to do this now, because if one of our 2 representatives, Rick, wins.
Yeah, I agree with whatever Mark's about to say.
Don't you think we should split the money just for solidarity's sakes?
You know, Mark, we would have split it with them.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that they should split it with us.
Yeah, I'm so much in agreement.
I think we're putting the cart a little bit before the horse. All right, let's see who wins, and then we can have these discussions.
I'll split it with you guys.
Oh, there you go, Mina. I'll buy you dinner next week. But here's the thing, Greg, about negotiation. It's all about timing, right? And you've got to get in early, because if it gets late, then negotiations could get harder. So we're going to start.
If you go out this week, Greg, and Mina's still in, now she thinks, well, hey, you weren't going to split it. She cuts you out of the deal.
Yeah, it's a good point. The question is this: if I go out this week and Mina stays in, does Mina listen to my advice going forward? Or does she think that she beat me? So why would I listen to you, you loser?
Probably that. She is a kind of a total head case though, where like you don't want to get into her head and like start putting other ideas in there. She'll lose it. So
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like you're talking to someone with a no hitter. You throw one idea and make them second guess, and then
she makes her picks on Tuesdays and never looks back because she never wants to have to like think about it again.
Yeah, you hear the quarterback news, it's like
Doesn't
okay, roll with it.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Armina, yeah, I'm gonna just win. Just go ahead and win. Do it.
Win, Mina. Win.
That was sick.
Wait, I already picked the Packers. I just realized I already picked them.
So she's not picking the Packers. She's going to go somebody else.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see if she's in for. We'll text you.
The Chargers could be a good option.
I think I already picked them.
She's picked all the top teams right to start the season. Remember?
Oh, I knew this was gonna bite me. Oh, I haven't picked them.
Who, the Chargers?
Yeah. Okay, I'll pick them.
And they're playing the Titans?
You know, that's a good question. Yeah, they're playing the Titans.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're we're riding with LA this week.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Pair of LA selections for Greg and Mina.
Greg, if this was a bad pick and you convinced her to do that, I'm gonna have issues with you. Just be aware.
Did you notice I stayed completely out of that discussion?
Very clever.
It's a good move.
I learned my lesson.
I'm trying to help out. I want to get Mina and I to the finals.
That would be sick. All right, boys. Any final thoughts?
Go Mina.
Great being with you guys.
All right,
Go Mina.
Done. Mina does all the hard work behind the scenes. Greg DuCharme, Mark Immelman. I'm Rick Gehman. This is the second cut. We'll catch you next time.